Welcome in, Oxford Exxon Podcast on this Tuesday. Hope that all of you had a wonderful and a safe holiday weekend. Long weekend now back with you for the rest of the week, and a good bit going on. SEC meetings kicking off in Destin, Florida here this weekend. The Sand Destin, I guess, is where it still is. I don't know. Either way.
I think so.
Is it? Okay.
I think so.
So in Destin, we're going to talk scheduling today on the show. We'll lead with that here in a few minutes. They think they actually are going to get to a vote, 9-game versus 8-game, what that looks like, and maybe a temporary solution as well. So we'll go through some of that stuff. Ross Dellinger from Sports Illustrated dropped a really good story on NIL this morning that I've skimmed through, and if you guys have seen it and you want us to talk about it, it may be tomorrow simply because I haven't finished it, and I hate to start trying to talk about something in specific terms when I have not finished the article. But anyway, it is there. That is your reading material if we do not get to that today. There's some news on the baseball front with Mike Bianco. His contract reported that yesterday. And the NCAA tournament was announced, the field announced for college baseball, as we'll see who will replace Ole Miss as the national champion here in just less than a month. So those things and more coming up on the show. A show brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. The lunch specials, $5.69. 2 sides, bread, any size fountain drink. Get the big one because there's no reason not to. Also, 49-cent fill-ups. Take a fountain drink. You can get it for 49 cents there at any Blue Sky location in Mississippi. They've got the ribs here locally in Oxford. Let them take care of dinner tonight. If you're quite not out of the holiday weekend, maybe use them for catering for Memorial Day. But either way, wet or dry, call ahead. They'll wrap them up, have them ready to go. And then you know that in Clinton and Brookhaven, they have the donuts made fresh every single morning. So that's in all Blue Sky locations for most of those items, the donuts in those 2 locations. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is that number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. There's no hassle. There's no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is completely up to you. You can shop that quote around, or you can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and let's hop into a Clark Ford today. You get great service, phenomenal product, the whole deal there at Clark Ford. Corey and the people there want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They'll prove to you what that means when you make the call. 662-257-1900. Guest join on the myperfectfranchise.net hotline. If you're a displaced corporate executive, or you wanting to put your career in your own hands, maybe you're an experienced entrepreneur simply looking to diversify. Either way, Andy Ludicky can help. He owns multiple franchises and businesses and uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. So call Andy, put your life and your career in your own hands. It's 100% free, so you've got nothing to lose. Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net or contact Andy anytime at andy@myperfectfranchise.net or call him at 404-973-9901.
Interesting editorial decision on SI.com. I went to find the story about the scheduling that Ross did, and I found it, but it was kind of down below the fold, below the main story for anybody non-journalism. Their main story on their college football page now 4 days later is still Cade Renfro being removed from the Arkansas roster.
Really?
It's an interesting deal there. Yeah. I don't know. It kind of shocked me. I went to SI and I went, huh, okay. It's a big Razorback helmet on the
one gets
on the top of the page.
One appeals to kind of everybody.
Yeah, of course.
And
the other does not.
The other is you kind of got to be a sports fan to be super interested.
Yeah, to care about the minutia to that extent.
The NIL story is I don't even know how far into it I am. It's pretty damn fascinating.
It's incredibly fast. That's what I'm saying. I kind of want to give it its due diligence, and I was itching to sort of go there, but then I haven't finished it, so I hate to not be all the way through.
Here's a paragraph. The average compensation for a Power 5 football player from a collective ranges widely, usually around $10,000 to $50,000 annually.
Yep.
But, quote, about 5 players per roster are making more than $100,000 on average. This is Jason Belzer, who is the CEO and co-founder of SANL, which is Student Athlete NIL, an organization that manages more than 30 booster collectives from Oklahoma to Penn State.
And that's national, which means SEC numbers are probably a little above that on average.
The median collective on the Power 5 has about 3 million on hand, Belzer says. Some have 7 to 10 million, but many are also operating at 1 to 2 million at hand.
Yeah.
That's everybody that's nationally because, frankly, the rest of the country, with a handful of exceptions, has not dived in. I think dived is the word I'm looking for, the way that the SEC has. There's a sense nationally that the SEC is going to realize that the car's going way too fast and hit the brakes before it crashes.
Oh, because I mean that's what this story is alluding to. I mean it's not even necessarily that it's not, because look, it's not legal. I mean that's what the premise of the story is, that there are public things at almost every collective that are happening that are not technically legal. And then now you've got competitive advantages throughout the league because of the ways that laws have been written in legislatures around the country. So it's like I said, it's really fascinating. Would probably be the lead to our stuff tomorrow. Catch up on the stream before we get started. Is the new above below the fold mean whether or not you have to scroll down or not? Yeah, I think so. I think if I have to scroll, that's below the fold, and if it's just on the top of the page, that's above the fold. Do I believe in this Wake team? They really pitch. They've got the best starting rotation in the country. The ACC is not overly good, so they haven't been tested week in, week out by any means. But you get them in a series, they're really tough to beat because of how they throw the baseball. They have parlayed that Wake Forest pitching lab into a lot of success there in Winston-Salem. They're good. They're really good. So, yeah, I think they're a team that can get to Omaha, especially with the draw they have. They're better than Alabama. So yeah, I think Wake is absolutely a contender because of the way their pitching staff is, but their offense can go dormant at times, and that the ACC is just not as good as the SEC and the ringer that it is with 8 hosts here.
That's what's going to be interesting with the SECs. 8 hosts, 10 teams. 2 of the teams that didn't make it won the last 2 national titles. You just wonder if what you see in the SEC is that these teams are battle tested in a way that maybe nobody else is. And I don't know. We'll find out. And some of it is luck of draw and all those things, but we'll see.
Yeah, the teams that didn't get in, 2 fired their coach and 2 won the last 2 national titles. That is where this is right now.
It's a hell of a statement. And so, I think I've watched a lot. You watched a lot. I watched a lot. I think the league's really good. Now, I don't know how many dominant teams are in it, and then I don't watch enough national college baseball to compare. So I don't know whether there's dominant teams out there, but I won't be surprised at all if the SEC gets 4 or 5 all the way to Omaha, just based on what you look at. When you watch teams like the ones that come to mind are like South Carolina, Kentucky, Texas A&M, the teams that nobody talks about, and you watch those teams for any length of time with any dispassionate view at all, and you look at them and go, they're just really solid. They're not great, but they're not bad either. They're just really solid.
I do wonder
teams.
if Carolina has come back to earth. They've lost the last 4 series. They survived a host. They're really hot early in the conference season, hitting all the home runs and all the stuff. I would sell them, and we'll get to this later on, but I really like Florida.
Yeah,
I really like Arkansas, just the culture around that group right now.
They just don't hit.
I know, but you still got to beat them, and you got to beat them at Bomb now.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't happen.
They don't lose there.
That's the reason why they're. I don't know that I like them to win the College World Series or anything, but to get to Omaha. Look,
the thing is, once you get to Omaha, and we've seen this the last 2 years, this isn't about Arkansas. This is about anybody, because the field is so different. Hell, Omaha's a crapshoot.
Yeah. It's a different sport.
You just don't know.
Yeah, it's less of a different sport because of the balls are juiced. Nobody would admit that. The balls are wound tight and juiced like crazy. I was looking up offensive numbers yesterday for that story, and I mean, good God. I mean, it's completely different.
You've got exit velos of 118 and 119.
Yeah. You do.
I mean, the strongest Major League Baseball hitters don't do that. The ball is juiced.
I haven't gone back and looked. I bet Kemp Alderman had 30 balls in play of 112 plus this year.
Yeah, and he's a beast.
Yeah, but still.
But yeah.
But the MLB record is 122.
Yeah, I mean.
Just keep that in mind.
I think, and to their credit, the SEC Network actually talked about it a little bit during the tournament. Just some balls are coming off super hot that don't make sense.
But the point is, they suddenly get out of Hoover, get out of Omaha better. Yeah. I mean, the ball flies. It has turned it into a more normal game in the postseason at that point.
I can't remember who did it, who hit it. I want to say it was a kid for A&M, but I could be completely wrong. I watched a good bit of the tournament. But he hit one to straightaway center that in any past year kind of dies.
And it got out.
And it just kept going. And you're like, all right, well, who's that cat? And it was like his third homer of the season. And you're like, all right.
Come on, guys.
Come on. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, look. I mean, of the top 8, I don't have it in front of me. I guess I'll try to pull it up. The 2 of the top 6 that aren't SEC teams are Wake, who we just talked about, who's been really good all season, and then Clemson. Clemson is not overly talented. They're by far not the best team in the country from a talent standpoint. Now, Eric Bakich has done one hell of a job.
Yeah, they're on fire.
They're hot, so they think they could beat the Yankees 9 in a row right now. And then 3, you see that. You see that first-year jump that happens a lot when you change culture somewhere and they get behind you and you sort of get it all together. It happened with Mike in 2001. It happens a lot there from a kind of that first game standpoint. So I get it. But at the same time, are you going, hey, they're about to go win this thing? Not necessarily. I know they won the Pac by 5 games, but until they prove it to me, I'm not a believer in Stanford at the number 8 overall seed. Looking at the top 8, like I said, it's nothing but SEC teams for the most part outside of that. Clemson's at 4. I think Virginia's a top 8. They've been sleepy and sort of slept on. I mean, they're 45-12. Really, really good. Had a nice season. Virginia, obviously, Brian O'Connor has won a national title. He's finished second for another one. He's been to Omaha several times. So if something happened there, it wouldn't completely shock you. But at the same time, you just look at, hey, who's really geared up for this thing, and it's SEC teams. Now, look, they have flaws too. LSU has to find a way to win when, Skeens is not pitching. Now, Floyd's been pretty good. They've gotten a lot out of the Hurd kid, the kid from UCLA that transferred in, Thatcher.
Tommy White got hurt a little bit in Hoover.
Yeah.
They were concerned with him a little.
Carter Holton's not pitching this weekend for Vanderbilt.
Oh.
Yeah, he's out this weekend. They said Hunter Owen will pitch, but Carter Holton will not. I don't like Vanderbilt, honestly. I know they just did and won the tournament, all that stuff. I don't like Vanderbilt to get to Omaha. I just don't.
Pitch really well,
and they've got more depth than ever. And I mean, look, and I'm contradicting myself here. And again, we're kind of just getting to break now, and we'll go into football. But the SEC and the country is not built on dominant frontline starting pitching anymore. It is not. It is built on depth, and Vanderbilt has depth out the ass. So.
They do.
Maybe that's it. I mean, it was a startling stat yesterday.
It's one of the reasons I like A&M. They have a deep pitching staff.
Deep and inconsistent pitching staff.
Yeah.
But they've looked better the last few weeks. And look, offensively, they're good. I mean, they had the most, going into the season, they had more preseason All-SEC offensive players than anybody in the league going in. So it's not a shock that A&M got hot.
Not even a little bit.
Team that finished 3rd in the country last year, tied for 3rd, however you want to do that. They won the SEC West last year. They'll definitely, they're going to be a tough out. Tennessee's going to be a tough out for sure. I know they don't play well at all away from Lindsey Nelson, but still got a feeling you still got to beat them. It's point being what I was saying was Paul Skeens was the only pitcher in the conference that averaged more than 6 innings per start. That was not the case 5-10 years ago. You had a lot of aces that would stay in there and get 6, 7, 8 into the ninth occasionally. I think only 4 or 5 pitchers averaged more than 5. Think about that. On average, less than half the conference had one pitcher who could give you half a game. Means you better just have arm after arm after arm after arm.
Yeah, because your starter's getting you into the 4th.
Because he's getting beat around. Because it's never been harder to throw in this league. The offenses are so good, and the game is geared against pitchers.
And there's finally a strike zone.
Well, there's too little of a strike zone.
But, I mean, it's a strike zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My point, though, is it's even harder than it should be because the umpires aren't good.
No, they're not good.
They've gone the other way at this point. So, I mean, it's just – it's weird. I don't know. This league, I was talking to somebody yesterday, he goes, it's always been a beast, but it's a level we've never seen, and it's only getting worse.
Well,
the collection of talent, because as we talk about this, the portal opens today, and not only is the strike zone harder to throw into, the pitch clock makes it where you don't have that second to chill and reset. That affects young pitchers in a lot of different ways. The balls are juiced, in my opinion. And then in addition to that, you've got the portal that's doing nothing but concentrating the best amounts of talent at the top schools. Because in the past, sure, occasionally you'd get the transfer, and even when it's more socially acceptable. There was a time where you still could transfer without sitting out in baseball. That's a relatively new rule that you had to sit out. But it wasn't something that was so commonplace that it was almost in vogue to do. And now that it is, now it is, if you have a big season at a smaller school, your immediate thought is, hey, can I go do this in the PAC or the ACC or the SEC where I can get a little more attention and hit that pitching? And maybe instead of a 4th round pick, I'm a 2nd round pick. Maybe that's what I do. Maybe I make cash.
And in the SEC, they'll pay you.
I was talking to somebody yesterday who went to Samford for undergrad and kind of has fairly familiar with their baseball program. And he was talking about the last 2 years. You look at Samford would have had quite the lineup if everybody had hung around. Colton Ledbetter, who went to State, and then Sonny DeCicero, who played at Auburn, was the Player of the Year. Those both came from Samford. Back-to-back years. Mm-hmm. Their best player, who would have absolutely been All-Americans in that conference, SoCon, I guess.
Sure.
They're not there. It's.
Yeah, I think Ledbetter probably would have had a pretty good year.
I have a hunch he would have hit their pitching. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he probably would have hit a little bit against whoever the SoCon is, Elon or whatever. I don't know.
Is that Campbell? That's that team.
Oh, Campbell may be in the SoCon, are they?
I think so.
It sounds like if Georgia doesn't pay, that is their lead candidate choice there.
The guy at
Campbell. Yeah, the head coach at Campbell feels most likely there, unless they decide they want to spend money. At this point, Missouri fired Steve Beazer over the weekend, which frankly was kind of stupid unless you're going to decide to fix anything to do with that program. He did a nice job. He has done a nice job. He knows that area. They got hit by injuries to the point that Missouri just cannot withstand that because they don't have a deep enough roster. It is what it is. But he had a regional team if they don't get banged up a little bit early in the year. I actually think he did a very underrated job there in Columbia based off what they have to work with. I had a not-Ole Miss coach tell me that they thought it was the worst job in the country relative to the SEC, that they have to play in that league, that you're so far behind everyone else. You've got the worst budget, the worst facilities, and the worst weather, and you're competing in this meat grinder. They're going to try, it sounds like, to hire Matt Hobbs, the assistant coach at Arkansas. He played at Missouri. He's coached at Missouri. There's no guarantee he's going to take it. Frankly, he has to decide whether he believes that's a death sentence for him. So
he probably has to also decide whether he thinks he would be in line to replace Van Horn down the road.
Could I stay or go even?
Right,
either way.
Either way.
What do I have to do at Missouri to get the Arkansas job?
Because for the longest time,
it was Vitello.
And now there's another name that still percolates there quite a bit. But I don't know that Van Horn's anywhere close to walking away. He doesn't act like it.
He doesn't, no. So Hobbs will be interesting, but otherwise I have no idea. That is just an impossible job there.
It's really hard.
Oh,
it's Gabe told me yesterday that was the most he'd written about baseball in 20 years. And he was being serious.
Yeah.
Because I sent him a text that said, I heard Mike Matheny's available.
Did he put a hot board together?
I don't think he did a hot board. I just think he wrote a little bit about it.
Okay.
It's not a sport of interest on campus.
No, it's not.
Softball
and maybe wrestling are higher up the list.
Yeah, you just can't force that when you've got the Royals and the Cardinals within 2 hours of you. Your baseball audience is going to be dialed into those two teams.
And then a lot more heat that the assistant in Alabama has a shot at the real job there, depending on what happens. It's hard to ignore it.
Here's the thing, and you've talked about this before. If you don't want your roster picked apart,
continuity,
you probably hire him. And look, if you hire him and it's a disaster in 2 years, you run him off.
Because you're not paying him 1.4.
Right. So if you're going to not retain him after the job that he's done, and he's done an amazing job in a short period of time.
I don't hate hiring him.
If you're not going to hire him, you better go big. Because otherwise, your roster's going to get picked apart and you're going to start over again. With this guy, some of them might leave anyway.
Yeah, sure.
But you'll at least have a shot.
Hey, we built something. We host blah, 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 blah.
Well, they probably have fond feelings for the guy.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder to walk into his office and say, hey, coach, I'm leaving for LSU.
No, the players and their emotions it was only 6 weeks ago or so that their coach was fired before a game. They got no information, and they seemed left for dead.
Mm-hmm.
They were, I think, 11-13 in the league at that day.
Something like that.
And since
Getting ready to play Vanderbilt.
Yeah, they took 2 out of 3 from Vanderbilt. They swept Ole Miss. They had whatever in the tournament. They won 40-plus games, and they're hosting a regional. Auburn and Alabama hosting regionals. It's interesting. The committee went heavy RPI yesterday, almost exclusively for host and at-larges, to the point that Cohen admitted it's a problem, that it's what they're told to do. So they followed their book the way they were supposed to, but that they need to fix it because it didn't make a lot of sense in a lot of ways. Especially was kind of a punishment out west. It was weird on the West Coast because of the way the Pac-12 went this season. It got Arizona in. It held out USC and Arizona State. And then it gave the SEC part of those 8 hosts. As the reason is their RPIs were so good. Kentucky was the number 2 RPI. South Carolina was the number 6 RPI. And then it went the other way with Auburn because they had a bad RPI and yet still hosted too. So that was the only one. And Cohen's on the committee, so he has directly affected things a couple years in a row there, mover and shaker. And that happens. Look, TCU a few years ago got into the tournament only because Chris Del Conte was on the committee. That is the only reason. There was no reason beyond that. So saw you like TCU this week, by the way, after they won the Big 12.
Yeah. Well, and look, it's beginning of the year, but beginning of the year, they popped several teams, Arkansas included. I know that was
in one of those tournaments.
Yeah.
Houston or Dallas.
I think it was Dallas, but it may have been Houston. I don't know.
Okay.
It might have even been, where's the park where the Round Rock? It may have
been
been
there. The Frisco tournament or whatever it is.
It may have been there. It was in Texas.
Yeah, sure.
And it was in February. And that was a million years ago. But I just kind of remember it. They can hit.
They've been very hot the last few weeks. Yeah. They were left for dead a month ago.
Yeah, they can hit. I don't trust Arkansas's bats, but you're right. They win at bomb. We'll see.
Who's your winner? The whole thing?
I don't know. Florida, I think.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Florida. I refuse to come off that.
I think they're the best team.
They're tough out.
They got to Saturday in Hoover and were like, let's get out of here.
Yeah, I know they got popped by Vanderbilt, but whatever.
Well, Vanderbilt jumped on them early, and then they said, hey, let's get out of here.
Yeah. We don't need that trophy. It's okay.
The 2 teams that lost on Saturday, deep down, we're glad to lose.
Yeah. Let's reset the pitching. Let's get home.
Well, like A&M, and I wouldn't have done what A&M did on Sunday. And we'll get off this. They throw Detmer again. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it.
You didn't need it. It didn't matter.
What difference does it make?
Yeah.
You're in the tournament. You're a 2 seed. You know what's going to happen. Why are you doing this? And it's that we must win.
Yeah, you're a program that has bigger goals than winning the SEC tournament.
Yeah. You could almost look into the Florida. I watched the Florida Vanderbilt game, and O'Sullivan's always kind of a grouchy dude.
Is.
And he was almost, you could tell, trying to be grouchy. But you could almost see the wheels turning, going, all right, I'm not throwing him, or him. And let's just go.
You walk over to Caglin and go, do not dive ever.
Well,
yes. do not do anything stupid.
Someone, I can't remember who it was, dove, and they showed into the dugout, and you could see, it was one of the assistant coaches had this look on his face of, get up. Like, just, what are we doing? Yeah. You're in. You're not. If you're Florida, your seed was set on Saturday.
You were going to be 2 no matter what.
You were the 2. You're not going to fall to 3. You're not going to move to 1. This means nothing other than – and I realized that the trophy and winning a title and all that.
Not for Florida.
Yeah, really not for any of those 4 teams that were there yesterday.
No.
Or Saturday. None of those 4 teams were focused on Hoover. They were all thinking about Omaha.
Yeah.
This is, by the way –
the NIL story
is wild.
No, I know. It's great. Yeah. I mean, again, everybody do your homework. We'll spend plenty of time on that. Spring is here. It's time to refresh your outdoor spaces. Heavenly Sunshine Property Services, your go-to professional power washing from your home's exterior and sidewalks to your deck and patios. The team has experience and equipment to get the job done right. With their advanced power washing techniques and attention to detail, they can remove dirt, grime, and mildew to reveal a fresh and clean surface. They've been serving the Mid-South for over 4 decades. That includes Oxford and all this area. Their full-service commercial and residential property maintenance includes power washing, soft wash roof applications, facade cleaning, and window cleaning. Heavenly Sunshine Property Services today. Give them a call and enjoy a brighter, cleaner outdoor living space. You can visit the website at heavenlysunshine.com or call Sandy at 662-342-1203 to book your free estimate. Use code MPW10 for a 10% discount.
Are you vacationing on Florida's Emerald Coast this summer? Whether you're staying on 30A or Pensacola Beach or anywhere in between, please check out Captain Lee Comerford with Salty Lab Charters, licensed and insured. He offers custom excursions such as dolphin watching along Destin beaches, Crab Island, sandbar experiences, sunset cruises, eco tours, and much more. He's an Ole Miss grad, an Air Force veteran. He's got more than 30 years of boating experience along Florida's Emerald Coast. All trips are private to your group. Check him out on Instagram or book today at saltylabcharters.com. Use the code RebelGrove20 to save 20%. This is valid for the next 2 days. So you get on it today. Rebel Grove 20. It can be applied to any charter booked in 2023. Lake Hill Motors in Corinth, Mississippi is a family-owned dealership in operation for more than 60 years. It has a service department with more than 100 years of combined experience. When another dealer can't repair something, they usually send it to Lake Hill Motors. So if you're looking for motorcycles, four-wheelers, side-by-side, scooters, generators, wave runners, lawnmowers, compact tractors, and more, Lake Hill has it. From Honda, Yamaha, Bobcat, Hyson, KO, and other name brands, contact Michael McCullough in Corinth at 662-871-6918 or visit him in person at 2003 Highway 72 East Annex in Corinth. Mention that you heard about Lake Hill on the podcast. Your first oil change on your new purchase is free. Walk-On's Sports Bistro puts everything they've got into bringing you game day with the taste of Louisiana. Dig into their mouth-watering, made-from-scratch Louisiana cuisine like po' boys, gumbo, voodoo shrimp, plus fan favorites like juicy burgers, fresh salads, all in front of 70-plus TVs, 40-plus ice-cold beers on tap. You can order online at walkons.com or on their convenient Walk-Ons app, especially if you're in Oxford or Jackson. Please check out the Walk-Ons in Oxford or in Ridgeland. The College Corner is your one-stop Rebel shop. 2 locations in the Jackson area. In Ridgeland, it's next to Fleet Feet. In Flowwood, it's next to Half Shell. If you don't live in Jackson, just go to collegecornerstore.com. Plus, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. They have the largest selection of Rebel gear in Central Mississippi. And we're brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating, different names, but the same great people, products, and services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer at 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, or the surrounding area, call Southern, 662-429-4429.
Podcast also brought to you by G&M Pharmacy, 662-236-2222. They deliver locally in the Oxford area, and they offer medicine to fill your prescriptions the same day each month and take care of you. One trip at the pharmacy, one delivery. You have everything you need when you need it with G&M. They also will transfer your medications with one phone call. They take care of the rest. So whether it be Tyson Drugs in Holly Springs or G&M in Oxford, that's 662-236-2222. So again, the schedule story, because I'm kind of like Neal. The other one is more interesting, but this one is where we'll start.
The other one's wild.
It is. Again, need to read it. Greg Sankey on a bit of a quote rampage yesterday. I was laughing at him a little bit as they get to Destin, and the two that I had picked out is, and again, they're discussing quick. I guess give the heads up on what's going on. So they think they're actually going to vote 8 or 9 game conference schedules. Unless you've been under a rock by now, the way this works is that if you have a 9-game schedule, you will have 3 permanent opponents. You'll have 6 rotating. And then in the one that they had mentioned previously, it was 2 and 6, right? 1 and 7.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, either way, 8-game conference schedules, whatever.
Something's got to change because 16 teams will be in the league.
Right. They have to make the math work. So anyway, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Point is, they came into it with that, but there's been something surfaced in the last few days is a temporary 1-year schedule holdover, which would have 1 permanent opponent and 7 rotating, I believe, or not really rotating because it's 1 year, but whatever. They said it's easy to figure out who those would be. I mean, Ole Miss, State, Alabama, Auburn, whatever. And they cited 3 reasons for this. They cited the first 2, which I think these go in order increasing importance, in my opinion. I think the first one is the least, and then working through.
Gotcha.
Athletes' health is how they start. If you really care about the athletes' health, then why'd you go from 11 to 12 in 2006?
And you're going to a playoff.
Yeah, and you're expanding games. So I know that's cool to say, but shut up.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't
Especially now that we're openly admitting that we're paying players.
Yeah, they're getting compensated for their time. Which again we'll get to. The other 2 though I think are relevant. I think the middle one is, how does it play out with the college football playoff? There is at least a paranoid concern inside the league that it was one thing when it was picking access bowls that are in ties and you're just doing these TV things, and it's not necessarily for a trophy. Like Ole Miss when they go with 3 losses or whatever, and it's just the way the formula falls. There's a worry in the SEC that a 3-loss SEC team that goes 6-3 in the league gets left out for another conference who goes 8-1 in their league or 11-1 overall or whatever. They kind of want to see a year or two of the structure and how the committee plays this before they fully commit to whatever is next. Again, I get the paranoia and I get wondering at least. I mean, if you're around the conference table together, somebody needs to raise their hand and go, hey, we cool? We good here?
This is where what I would love to see, and maybe you're about to hit me with it, is what are they getting paid and by who? Like what's the TV compensation? Is it less than what they thought it was going to be, or what is it? And then what does TV want?
It's also relevant that the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the Big 12 all play 9 conference games moving forward. The SEC and the ACC are the two that do not at this point.
Right.
So you're having a conversation when you're playing fewer than other teams. They would have the same problem you have, except to a larger extent because they don't have your reputation and profile. Now, they also don't have 9 teams that can beat their best teams. I understand that, but nonetheless, that's the argument.
Yeah.
Most believe the ACC will simply do whatever the SEC does if they still exist as a conference.
Okay.
They think they will just copy them at some point. But the one that is interesting is that they say that the question is TV and ESPN specifically is that right now they're laying off 7,000 people across the Disney network. That's not all ESPN, but that's Disney who owns ESPN. And that they simply are not putting more money into it for a 9th game. That they do not believe ESPN is adding a single dollar if Ole Miss plays Middle Tennessee or Alabama for that 9th game of the schedule. So Sankey's point, and he has 2 quotes that are interesting.
I saw one of them.
Money follows, it doesn't lead.
Yeah.
He said that.
Sounds like Sam Presti.
He had a longer version of that quote, but I guess it doesn't really matter right now. If I come across it, then great. And then the second one is a little contradictory to this. A league at the forefront of college athletics doesn't stand still. This is a league at the forefront of college athletics. So those two are somewhat contradictory to each other, in a way. I get what he is saying, and I do. I mean, in general principle, if you're simply letting money win, it better, by God, be enough money for nothing else to matter. You know what I mean? Like, there is a number where nothing matters, but if you're trying to sustain and do, you can't simply go, oh, well, that's 10% more, so that's the decision. That doesn't make sense.
I wrote about this in 10 Thoughts. And
you did.
And I feel strongly about this. And it's funny because I think I'm viewed as the least fan-friendly guy in a lot of media. And I'm wondering, is anyone thinking about the fans? Because if I'm a fan and I'm let's say I'm an Ole Miss fan and I live in Nashville or Atlanta, pick either city, okay? Do I want to go see? I mean, do I really want to go see Ole Miss Mercer? The outcome's decided, and I realize that college athletics are different than pro athletics because of feelings and emotions and all that. But that ULM game in November, I've done the Grove a couple of times by then. It's November, getting close to the holidays. Do I really want to go see Ole Miss ULM? Do I really want to? The answer is no. I know who's winning. I could probably predict the score within 10, 15 points.
Sure.
I mean, the only drama in that game will be, is Ole Miss going to cover the 34.5, right? I mean, 34.5 is the line, 38.5, whatever. The only drama is, are you covering the line? As a fan, that's not particularly appealing to me. Now, I'll admit that I don't have the emotional attachment and all that stuff. So maybe to a fan, it's like, no, I want to go see the blowout. I would say that my eyes tell me, after covering SEC for 20-something years, that I'm right here, that people don't want to go to those games. And now you're asking the fans, hey, oh, by the way, we need you to help pay the players. Not just a booster. And so when you lose a close game, and I'm not talking about Lane here, I'm talking about all coaches.
Yeah, sure.
One of the first things is, well, the playing field's not really level. Well, it's not level the other way either. I don't know. If I'm a fan, from a pure fan standpoint, what's the damn difference between 6-6 and 7-5? I mean, what's really the difference? Bragging rights at the office? I mean, if you have a championship level team, you're probably going to win that 9th league game. I mean, how many teams in the league, like Georgia could have played 11 league games last year. They were winning them. They only got challenged once.
The SEC is worried about two things: money and getting teams into the college football playoff, which equals money.
Yes, I get it.
That's it.
100%.
So yeah, no, they don't care about the fans.
So
no,
then that what they need to say then
Sankey
is
doesn't care.
Just say it out loud. But then don't hit them up. Go, hey, the reason we lost is because you guys didn't raise enough NIL money. Because that's when the guy goes, well, you know what? I packed up my family of 4 in Atlanta to come over for the ULM game. It was 49-3. It was kind of chilly. And then you want me to add another $2,000 to go buy a cornerback from South Dakota State.
Just for the sake of the podcast, because I think we mostly agree, so it would be a pretty boring 20 minutes here. Is there an argument for 8 because you need a rest week in the season at some point? And if you just grind the hell out of yourself, you're worse at the end of the season? That you actually competitively with the schedule need a little more of a balance?
Sure.
I'm reaching.
Again, and I'm with you. I mean, it's why I couldn't do the Skip Bayless thing. But you're buying a roster now. The whole roster.
Well, true. Interesting thing. He goes, I don't care about 7-5, 6-6, but I absolutely care about 10-2 or 9-3.
Sure. But let's take Ole Miss's schedule this year. When 4 of your wins are Tulane, Georgia Tech, ULM, and Mercer, does it really matter? It's going to come down to what you did in league play. Who you lost to in league play, who you beat in league play. It's going to come down to league play.
I don't know how Ole Miss has handled this. That is a point Ben makes, too, in the stream. I would even see a little more for fans if you dramatically cut the ticket prices to the other games.
Sure.
Dramatically.
Sure.
Where you go, nope, we're playing whatever, but we get it's not Georgia. So the ticket is $42 instead of $90 or whatever. I don't know.
100%. That probably isn't happening.
Yeah, an acknowledgement that, and I know they do the little packages and stuff.
Sure.
I don't know the specifics.
Right.
But it feels like this 8 thing, though, for a year is absolutely happening. Otherwise, why even say it?
Oh, well, the fact that Sankey is being quoted there makes me think that's exactly what happens.
I mean, that.
But now Greg Sankey is also the guy who has consistently said that he wants the student-athlete experience to be one where that player plays on all these other – they gets, Texas and South Carolina see each other. Not once every 9 years, but once every 2 years, 3 years. 16 teams, 8 games. It's going to be hard to make that work. Especially if you're trying to maintain rivalries, which they clearly are.
Secondary rival was the question. Yeah. How committed are you to a secondary rival where it's every year, not every other year?
It'll be hard.
Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, Georgia,
right.
Ole Miss, LSU, Texas A&M.
But
because Texas is Oklahoma first.
But let's take LSU, Ole Miss.
Yeah.
LSU would go, that's not really our secondary rival. Maybe it is. Maybe for competitive purposes they would want it to be. Who's their primary rival? A&M?
I think under that guise.
So A&M would go, we kind of deep down want Texas to be our primary rival.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Texas's primary rival? Oklahoma? I mean, it won't.
Yeah, because then you lose Texas, Oklahoma if you've got whatever.
Yeah, you just start losing stuff. It from a formula standpoint, I pity the schedule maker who has to try to figure it out. Literally impossible to make everyone happy.
An unnamed SEC AD told Dellinger, speaking of that 8-game 1-year period, that's probably what will happen. I don't see the desire to go to a 9th game and not have any increase from a revenue standpoint. That's what I think comes out this week unless something dramatic happens. Again, ESPN in the midst of layoffs that are going to go through all summer. The network is also involved in bidding for several other deals right now, including the 12-team college football playoff, the WWE, UFC, and the NBA. So a lot. Look,
the SEC,
this is the first little thing of what we've talked about for months of there's not more money for other teams. They can't just go expand and grab money and go, you get a share.
It's the first time that they're starting to go,
it's the first time we went, this is not an unlimited monopoly board.
It's the first time that they're acting like the guy that bought the car, and about 2 months later, he's like, this note's a little high. I can do it, but I'm going to have to cut something back. Kind of what it feels like.
The schools that have said they are absolutely for 9 games, no matter the unanswered questions about a revenue, bowl eligibility, or chances. Florida, Georgia, Texas, A&M. No, sorry, Florida, Georgia, Texas A&M, LSU, and oddly enough, Missouri. Those are the teams that said we want 9 no matter what.
Missouri, it's because attendance at their games when
Give it the better teams.
When they play nobody, it's hard to sell it, and you can't sell season tickets and blah blah blah. And they
it also shows they don't really think they're a 10-2 team, so it doesn't really matter.
Historically, they've never been.
I mean, we're not a playoff team, so who cares?
Right.
Just give us the better games and let's run it up, and we'll try to get to 6-6 and 7-5 and play Army in the Commander's Bowl.
Well, I know we're going to punt it till tomorrow, but it's why this other story from Dellinger is so fascinating, because if you sort of read between the lines, there's if the current landscape remains the same, there are multiple schools that have to look in the mirror and go, is there any chance we're winning this beauty pageant? You look around at the rest of the contestants and go,
But there's a bit of maturity in what Missouri is doing, because a lot of schools would go, well, if we're not in it, I just want the extra win then. I mean,
no, but
people are more happy at 7-5 than 6-6, or 8-4 than 7-5.
I mean,
or 6-6, for God forbid, than 5-7.
Sure. I think they look at it and go, we're probably a 6-6, 7-5-ish program.
At some point,
let's play good games.
At some point when they got in the league, it was, we hope this raises our football profile. And I get they won the East those first 2 years and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it was, hey, how much money can we make? And how much can we make that the most money possible?
Of course.
That's why they did what they did.
Of course.
It wasn't, hey, God, I'm just itching to play Alabama.
No. It was money. And for the first time, it's like you sort of see the networks go, we're about tapped out.
Saban in March had said he thinks the SEC has a better chance to get parity right doing the 8 games. That is complete and utter crap. The more games you play, the more parity than assists. Just math, Nick. He was mad about his secondary teams, and he was frustrated. So, by God, he suddenly changed his mind.
If you're really obsessed with fairness...
Yeah, come on.
Okay, if that's the word that we're looking for.
Then we do rotating NFL schedules.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just simply make the schedule every year based off last year's standings.
Bingo.
Which would be great. You know what the TV would be like on that for the summer? And we go, hey, I know we're going to play this team because they went 6-3 and this team went 7-2, and like where we fit in our thing. Oh, it would be great.
Agreed.
But we don't know when or where.
And the NFL honors rivalries. They've got divisions.
Yeah, the Saints are going to play the Falcons.
The Saints in Atlanta are going to play. Green Bay, Chicago, they're going to play every year. You can do it. It's doable.
I thought that this morning. That's the
they don't want to do it. You could do it. You could do 4-team pods.
Oh, it'd be great.
Just do it, and you're going to lose something somewhere, but it'll be all right. I mean, are we really going to – I wrote this the other day on Twitter. It may be in 10 thoughts too. Are we really going to lose it if South Carolina, Missouri don't play the Battle of Columbia? Are we really – is anything really going to be lost there?
I know we're wasting our time because they're clearly not doing 4-team pods. But, yes, because you run it just like the NFL. You play your 3 teams. You play all 4 teams from one other pod, and then the team that finished with your record in the other 2 pods.
Bingo. 9 games.
Done. You just got your 9 games.
Done.
The pod you play, everybody, that rotates every year.
Heading to the beach now. Going to get a margarita. See y'all. We're done. Figure out the pods geographically.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care.
Whatever.
That's not today's problem.
But it would be.
You walk out of the room and go, hey, we're going to do pods. We'll tell you how later.
Be super doable.
Oh, it's
super
it's better
doable.
than 16 teams in one division.
Of course.
When we start,
where you literally could win a championship based on just
look around Major League Baseball. Look around the NFL. It works for a reason. It works because more teams stay in the race.
NBA does it. NHL does it. Everybody does it. I don't know why this is hard.
I get the issue with it is that it requires really to do it correctly, it requires a semifinal and a final in the SEC. I get that.
Okay.
Well, okay, but we're back to player safety again. Sorry, that's a hill we can't cross.
I mean, it's doable. You could do it. You could fix it. Tells me for some reason Something has happened to make them not want to fix it because everything was heading in that direction not long ago.
They lose too many rivalries. There's too many games that the universities refuse to lose because you can't just put every right, like it just doesn't work.
So they're putting tradition in front of, quote, fairness. Which gets back to wait a minute, are you trying to get to the playoff or not? What is it? It's like, this is why I'm struggling with the logic here. The stories don't add up.
Yeah, I don't think they could get 8 votes because you'd have teams that go, God, I'm getting stuck with those 2 in the pod every year. No, hell no. I'm never going to win this thing.
Could be.
And then somebody else looks at their pod and goes, yes, 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 yes.
I mean, so the Georgia pod would be Georgia, South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida.
I mean, sure.
So you'd have that one. Then you'd have Tennessee, Alabama.
Auburn and Ole Miss or State. Or Vanderbilt. Ole Miss State, LSU, Arkansas.
And then Missouri, Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. Done.
That didn't sound that hard, did it? There's a lot of rivalries that get
I'm sure you might
there.
move something around or whatever, but it's done. I mean, look, if you
that took like 45
and here's my
seconds.
thing is, if you can't win your pod, you're never going to win anyway. So what difference does it make? And one year the division might be bad. Like this year, the NL Central sucks. But there's been years when the NL Central was awesome. You know what I mean? This year,
I'm getting more frustrated as we talk about
the AL East is a beast this year.
Yeah.
But there have been years where the AL East was like the Yankees and everybody else sucked.
Yeah.
It happens. The AL West this year is a competitive disadvantage because Oakland is awful. So, yeah.
Beat the Braves last night.
There you go. But you get my point.
Yeah.
But there's been years where the AL West was an absolute juggernaut. So it's going to be like that. Sports are sort of that way.
Yeah, whoever's in last place in the AL East today is going, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it'd be all right.
And if the obsession is truly with fairness, well, then they're sitting down today talking about one thing and one thing only. Hey, we got to get this NIL thing completely under control. This is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about the play, not the assassination right now, but I get it.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
You missed that line. Well, yeah, what happened was
I got distracted. Okay.
Did you see the guy jump? Because that threw me off.
Oh, God. All right. Moving on. Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com. 7 different flavors available for you. They ship directly to your door. You can now get a discount. Use code RG. Buy 5 pouches or more. Try a bunch of flavors. Or if you have a favorite, stock up on that. Use code RG. 25% off your order there with Prime Shrimp. Remember, if there's a Rouse's around, those are in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama for sure. Maybe other places too. I don't know. But if you have a Rouse's, you can pick it up there in those brick and mortar locations. But again, they ship directly to your door. They make it easy. Fewer than 10 minutes, freezer to plate. You have dinner, you have a snack, you have a great topping for a salad, and many more things you can do, including full meals in a bag. So again, that's code RG with primeshrimp.com.
A-Stock is a Nashville-based online retail company with the mission to provide customers the power to name their price. All items start at just $1. That's right. Every item starts at just $1, no matter what the retail value may be. Shop now at astock.bid. That's astock.bid, or download their app. Name your price on thousands of items from big-name retailers. A-Stock has multiple locations around Nashville and Memphis, some in Indiana, and many more coming soon that offer local pickups, so don't miss out. We're brought to you by Solutions RX. It's a probiotic multivitamin supplement company created by Ole Miss Pharmacy alum Chris Corneliuson. It's pharmaceutical grade, manufactured right here inside the U.S. under the highest standards, based out of Iuka, Mississippi. If you take diabetes, high blood pressure, or cholesterol medications, you know those typically cause side effects like muscle pain, brain fog, energy loss. That's due to a depletion of vitamins and minerals in the body. But Chris formulated a product called Prescription Support to put those vitamins back into your body to help with those side effects, keeping you more compliant with your medications, helping you stay healthier over the long term. Solutions RX is available in local independent pharmacies across the continental U.S., including all across Mississippi, or on their website, solutionsrx.com. Type in the promo code OEP at checkout. Get 10% off of your first order. Game Changer patches are the only 2-patch system available in the market to stop hangovers before they start. The warm-up patch is used before or while you drink. The overtime patch used after you've been drinking to recover while you sleep. The all-natural ingredients will keep you in the game and ready for your next play. Go to GameChangerPatch.com, promo code RebelGrove20 at checkout for 20% off your purchase. Brought to you by ACS, Automation and Control Systems, LLC. They're based out of Baldwin, Mississippi. They're a complete electrical control system solution provider, a Rockwell Automation Recognized System Integrator. Go to acsllcms.com or call 662-601-4381 to learn more.
Podcast is brought to you by Northeast Spark, NESPARC. Service people across rural communities. 2 packages, the Ignite, the 100 Mbps, or the Blaze, the 1 gig that powers the Clark Ford Studio. Your hometown team bringing you world-class broadband. That's NESPARC.com. 662-238-3159. Phone service, parental controls, network security, a wireless mesh extender for those who need the extra help, and more. So to get the best internet in Lafayette County, as well as Union and Pontotoc counties for those who previously did not have internet, again, that is 662-238-3159. Let's see here. Just running through real quickly. It won't take long, but as reported yesterday, Mike Bianco, his contract not rolled over after the 2023 season. But it's also worth noting that when he signed his extension or his new contract or whatever you want to call it last year, his salary got bumped to $1,625, and his length of the contract was for more than 4 years. They've been doing that with head coaches lately. They can put the additional years in the foundation. That way they are not held to the government 4-year max standards. At that point, Chris Beard, I think, on a 5-year deal, Lane Kiffin on a 6-year deal. Mm-hmm. So because of that, Mike had more than 4, meaning it's not 3 is where he's at. Buyouts, I don't know Mike's buyout, but typically they're 70%-ish of total remaining money is sort of Ole Miss's standard, somewhere in that range. Again, I know it's not exactly correct, but somewhere in there. The question everybody wonders, my opinion, just my opinion, I don't think that barring something unforeseen off field or something crazy, you could make a change until after at least the 25 season. Financially, my opinion, I just don't. I don't think you're paying millions of buyout money in college baseball.
Agreed.
It doesn't make sense.
Agreed. Unless there's some financial windfall that
unless there's something I'm very unaware of.
Right.
Again, the portal opens today. Maybe it opened last night. I don't know. Either way, whatever.
It's been open.
Well,
it's legally open today.
Yeah,
the portal has been open.
I am friends with a coach in another league who lost in their conference tournament. I just sent him a text going, "Hey, like, what are you doing? You okay?" And the answer was tampering. Literally, I got one word back, and it was tampering. And I went, "That explains it. Okay, that's that."
I can tell you that the coaches who were in Hoover over the week, when they weren't coaching their team, they were on the phone. They were busy.
The small schools just have so little chance of keeping their talent.
It's literally impossible.
There should frankly be an NIL, non-NIL division at this point.
Yes.
Because you can't.
Been saying this. I've been on this train on basketball for a while.
Because, I think I know who one of Ole Miss's guys coming in next year is, but I need him to get into the portal before I announce it because that would be wrong on a lot of levels. But, I mean, it's just you win, you play at a smaller level and you do well, and that's it. Somebody's grabbing you.
And everybody's doing it. The ones that have the money are doing it anyway.
Well, good point.
So there's...
I want to see how people stockpile because, Ole Miss is going to be very active. LSU is going to be very active. Arkansas, Tennessee, Florida. A&M. Sorry. I should have started with A&M maybe.
A&M.
And then, as I mentioned last week, there's a big prediction out there that of the top 25 guys, there's going to be several that go to a random school because that school got one dude. Yeah. And we're just we can't play in those waters, but we can get one guy. And you find the dude who's just about the money and not about trying to compete or go to Omaha or anything. And Nebraska goes, "Hey, here's $250," and they go, "Okay,
sure,
I'll go play in Lincoln."
And I get it.
You've got to trust your evaluations in the portal, just like anything else. It's just like high school and whatever. But a lot of people go, "Oh God, it's easier because you see the sample size and you've seen them at the D1 level." But there's such a difference in the conferences that's not really the case. If you're picking up a bat from the Big Ten, you better, by God, be sure that translates. There's no guarantee.
No.
The Big Ten kind of sucks. Maryland just won their conference tournament and their regular season, and Ole Miss wrecked them over 4 games.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have won the SEC.
I know.
They might not have made Hoover. I know it's probably a big statement, but I'm not sure I'm wrong. I'm probably a little carried away, but nonetheless, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm probably a little much, but you get my point.
I don't know that you're much, though. I mean, I'm trying to think
With
about
the right schedule, they're screwed.
Yes. Well, again, how many bad teams were in the SEC this year? I mean, if technically Ole Miss was the worst team in the SEC, and they wrecked Maryland. I know it's February, blah, blah, blah. I get it.
But if the worst team in the league had 3 all SEC offensive players.
Yeah.
Including a top 10 pick.
And you're going to see a different kind of.
State really hit.
You're going to see a different kind of pitching in the league. Lots of arms like Vanderbilt has and A&M has.
And you have to pitch in the league.
And you have to pitch in the league to have any chance. And even when you pitch well, your team.
You're going to get hit.
Your team goes through lulls.
That's what I found. I just ran. I did not go through the numbers and look for some down year. I simply picked the year before COVID for whatever reason. So I went 2019 versus this year. Home runs are up 60% from 2019. 60. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Runs are up 1.5 runs per game for SEC teams. And that's all games. I didn't go SEC only. I guess I could have, but whatever. I mean, it was that stat the SEC network threw out at some point over the week of just the dominance that the SEC had against everybody else. And it was some winning percentage that was off the charts.
Well, it's basically because most of the league is fairly invested, and they go out and get all the good players. I mean, you saw that in the tournament this week. There was so many guys who transferred from here and transferred from there and transferred from here. I mean, the homegrown 3-4 year players pretty rare now.
But closing the mic thing, it was the right call not to extend him. I get how he got a really long-term contract last year, but it brings into the question, and I'm not going down the same road again. It was a really tough spot for Keith. I don't think I would have gone as far as he did simply because of the 14 and 16 regular season. As I wrote yesterday, they are both equally relevant. You won a national title, you get compensated for your national title. You went 14 and 16.
And got in by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
I mean, just.
If a different committee is, you're not the coach right now. So because of that, what's that middle ground look like?
If instead of John Cohen, it was some cat from the ACC.
Coastal Carolina or something.
Yeah.
What a world. So.
Man, some of the quotes in this story.
You still reading that one?
Yeah. I mean, I've gone back to some quotes and reading them like, what does that mean?
It's explosive.
I mean, yeah, it's just a lot there. And I've been waiting for this.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one of the quotes in there. I don't. Maybe this one caught your eye. Maybe it didn't. Arthur Bryant, an attorney specializing in Title IX violations, believes schools are violating the federal statute that prohibits gender-based discrimination. Male athletes are receiving more NIL cash than female athletes, he contends. Quote, most colleges and universities in America are violating Title IX right now. What's happening with NIL is just adding to that, sometimes massively. It is impossible to know in some circumstances exactly how much the school is involved, but from public appearances, the schools are regularly involved, and in some cases, they have to be involved.
It's the problem. It's one of the problems Sankey keeps alluding to, because as they've allowed the schools to get more control, you at least open yourself up to the idea of that.
Yes.
You still have a very good argument why it's not the case, but you at least are because when it's completely third party, you go, the hell you want me to do? I'm not doing anything. I'm not involved at all. But when now things are running through the collectives, I mean, again, I'm really trying to save this, but I'll hit a couple things. Like A&M now has moved it, and maybe a lot of other schools too. Hell, Ole Miss may have, I don't know. But in the story, it mentions A&M has moved it under their school enough that if you give a certain amount of money to NIL, you get priority points inside the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a literal benefit to NIL donations from inside the actual department. Now, A&M would argue that's still not the school. That's our foundation. And that's
splitting the. And I get Ross would say that.
It's why foundations are set up in the first place.
Yes.
It's literally they're there for that reason. I mean, look, I just said the mic thing. I mean, it's the same thing. Hey, the state allows this. Okay, well, move it to foundation. That's not the case anymore. Cool. All right, cool.
I'm looking for the Sankey quote. I think it was earlier in here. He basically said, "I warned y'all about this."
Yeah, he gave a quote that was pretty strong.
Yeah, what's happening at this is about different states have different rules, different laws, different stuff. He says what's happening at our state level is exactly what I warned about. This is Greg Sankey. Our states are making a mess of college athletics. Our states are adopting laws that are not helpful to conduct conference competition or national competition. I would venture to guess, knowing him, I don't know him, but I know, obviously,
what
you know
what
what I mean?
Thought processes.
I would venture to say that is just the very top layer of what he would really like to say and what will be said behind closed doors this week. Yeah. But the toothpaste is out of the tube, man. I mean, all out. How do you even begin to start putting it back? Not only is it out, but like the kids have taken it and smeared it all over the walls and stuff. I mean, it's everywhere. I don't know. This story is wild, though. It's
very well done.
It's very well. Ross is terrific. He's one of the very best. He has a level of access that is earned and that he's been able to get over time, and it is. He covers this extremely well, and there's a lot there. I mean, he talks to Walker Jones. He talks to Keenum at Mississippi State, who gives a couple of really fascinating quotes, including the end quote, which is a really interesting quote, and he's not wrong. I mean, and then you get into the whole thing about what the NCAA can do.
Can do and is willing to do. Two different things.
At LSU, the Tiger Athletic Foundation, like the 12th man at A&M, is legally separate from the university. Officials in Baton Rouge are seriously exploring the same model as Texas A&M, but like other schools, they're waiting for any action from the governing body of college sports. Quote, "If the NCAA doesn't do anything on this, we're all in," one LSU administrator says.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
They even put a school on that. Huh. The NCAA, in the meantime, is going to be completely inundated with trying to figure out what to do, courtesy of their own rules and the way they set it up with the second-time waivers citing mental health as the reason for the transfers. That's what's coming as a deluge of mental health waiver requests.
What do you do? What do you do?
I don't know. Do you really try to case-by-case that? Is that kind of blanket one way or the other? I don't know.
And if you get one ruling wrong and it leads to some sort of a tragedy.
Problem, yeah.
If I'm them, given
I get why they put that waiver possibility in place, but at the same time, it opened it up for everybody doing this.
And it may have said, hey, look, we don't want to do this. We really don't feel like fighting this. So if you want to move a second time, you're going to have to claim that you have mental health issues. And then we'll go, okay.
Or do you need documentation at some extent? I don't know.
And how hard would that be to get?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't either. But just keep an eye out there. I think
and then I love this paragraph. Can the NCAA enforce its rules that conflict with state law? Those who believe it can enforce penalties say A&M is a member of a voluntary organization and it can resign from the NCAA if it wishes to march down this path. Those who believe the NCAA cannot enforce penalties say the organization is too fearful of more legal battles, which is what I believe. I've heard that. I've heard that for years now, that they
don't want to do court anymore.
The reason this happened the way that it happened, where everything happened all at once, was that the NCAA got tired of litigating. That they literally were not literally, they were figuratively the company in a Grisham novel that kept getting class action suit that finally went, to hell with it. Here's your settlement, and we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like that's where they
still
are.
have some ongoing. I mean, Rebel Rags is still going. Yeah. I mean, they still have cases that are running through.
But if every individual athlete's going to sue you when he doesn't or she doesn't get a waiver, and you're going to end up losing because the courts seem to rule in favor of the athletes. If that's going to happen, if you're the NCAA, you get to a point where you're like, what are we doing? I don't blame them.
Because look, by logic, Grind's right. He goes, how is it legally separate when he acts in the best interest of A&M? It would not exist if Texas A&M didn't exist. It's fair.
Yeah.
Logically, 100%.
But here's the NCAA's thing. Do they really want to go to trial inside the state of Texas fighting Texas A&M?
And all the donors and lawyers and money that would, oh, God. I mean,
Well, and then when you get through with that case.
Because A&M would just red tape you to death. Go, I've got a bigger pocketbook than you do.
Sure.
I can do this for years.
And when you get through with that case, now you got to go fight it in Michigan?
Yeah, come on.
At some point, you surrender. You wave the white flag. And I think they kind of have.
Yeah. Whew. Speaking of college football here before you know it, if you're ready for the Grove, join Ole Miss at Vaughn Hemingway Stadium this fall for the 2023 football season. Order tickets now to participate in the seat selection process. You can explore seating options by visiting OleMissTix.com or call 662-915-7159 today to block the vault. Again, that's OleMissTix.com, 662-915-7159.
Father's Day is almost upon us. Dead Soxy has the perfect gift for any budget, whether as a gift or buying for yourself. Dead Soxy is excited to help you celebrate with style. So sign up for a Dead Soxy NIL membership. Receive new styles every month, 2 months, 3 months, or even every 6 months. These socks not only comfort your feet, they give back. Over 50% of the proceeds are pumped back into Ole Miss athletics. If a sock subscription isn't your speed, ask for a Saturday 7-pack. Get 7 unique designs to coordinate each of this season's 7 home football games. Again, these packs give back to Ole Miss athletics as well. Lastly, enjoy 25% off all non-licensed products with promo code Rebel Grove. Visiting deadsoxy.com and visit deadsoxy.com. Stock up on your favorite socks while supporting your beloved Rebels. It's a double win, so happy Father's Day from Dead Soxy. Also brought to you by Pinnacle. They're based in Madison, Mississippi. Clients in more than 20 states, advisors in multiple states. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much, much more. It's mypinwealth.com, MYPINN wealth.com. Brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. Get in touch with John if you're planning a summer trip, a holiday trip, whatever the case may be. Simply give him some parameters and a budget. He'll give you options you're not going to find on your own. 901-494-3387. Or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. And we're brought to you by OPA on the Square in Oxford. If you're coming up this summer, make OPA a part of your stay. Fabulous food, great craft libations as well. Again, that's OPA on the Square in Oxford. I'll have a mailbag up at some point this week, maybe Thursday this week. It's brought to you by Whitney McNutt of Tommy Morgan Incorporated Realtors, serving you for all your real estate needs in Oxford and Tupelo. Whitney sells condos, land, commercial, and residential family homes. You can reach her at 662-567-2573 or 662-842-3844. Service specialist staffing and recruiting agency has been connecting great job opportunities to candidates since 1967. If you're on the job hunt, they can help you. If you are looking to hire quality, hard-to-find talent, they can help you as well. It's always free for the job hunter, and your company doesn't pay unless you hire a candidate that service specialist sent. So you've got nothing to lose. Give Will, Sydney, or Kelsey a call at 662-832-5138 or check out their new and improved website, servicespecialistltd.com.
Just looking at the bracket a little bit, Southern Miss got a really good draw there at Auburn. Got a chance to get out of that thing. Auburn, not elite pitching. Bush has just done a great job. Samford has no top 50 wins on the season. You wonder if Scott Berry would hold Tanner Hall for Auburn even though he's playing at 3.
Ooh. Well, you know how I feel about this.
You either win the tournament or you don't. No points for second place.
You're first or last.
Yeah. You don't get to go to the Super Regionals for winning the first game.
First or last.
I think I'd do it.
If I think it's my only path, that's the path I take.
I mean, again, are you beating Auburn or Samford with the number 2?
I mean, I'm beating Samford.
And I don't think Samford has some ace that you're terrified of.
No. I pitched my best guy in the winner's bracket game. Because the truth is, if you don't get to the winner's bracket game,
it's all over.
You're probably not getting out of it. A few teams can hit their way to it, but not many.
Indiana State got a really good draw. They didn't punish them at all. They're trying to get them through.
Who's there too? Iowa?
Iowa, Wright State, and North Carolina. It's a hard 3, but
yeah,
it's not terrible.
Who's that paired up with?
Arkansas.
Oh.
314. Clemson getting Tennessee as the 2 got no favors as the number 4 overall seed. No, that's tough. They were the 1-2 you didn't want to look up and see, I felt like, just because of what's possible with them.
Sure.
They're weird as hell, but
sure. Well, they get run out, but they
could run you out.
They could get going.
Yeah. That's scary there for them. They're really, really bad, but LSU getting Tulane as a 4 is interesting.
It is.
They're 19-40.
Yeah.
They just got hot for a week.
But if you're LSU, you don't throw Paul Skeens against Tulane.
No. Ty Floyd's getting the ball, and you see where that goes. And then you run Skeens out against Oregon State or Sam Houston.
Yeah.
In the 2-3 game there. A&M absolutely could go win the Stanford Regional in Palo Alto.
I think they're going to. I'm higher on them than most people.
I soured on Stanford in Omaha when I just watched them get wrecked twice, and I went, okay. And I know that was such a small sample size and whatever, but they
got wrecked in those games.
Yeah, I was just kind of like...
They played SEC. That's my point.
Because, I got to the park that day in Omaha, and it was like the 3rd inning, and Arkansas was beating them like 11-0. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And
I think what the hell went on is the same thing that I think is the hell that will go on this year, which is this league's just really good. And sometimes you get away from playing league teams, and it almost feels like a vacation.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Ole Miss felt that in the national title last year. They beat Arkansas and went, whew.
Well, yeah. Because Arkansas was going to beat Oklahoma, too.
Campbell absolutely could beat South Carolina.
Yeah.
Florida's going to win, but they didn't get a great draw there. Connecticut's not bad. Florida's going to win.
Yeah.
Connecticut's really not bad. Texas Tech's kind of name only this year. I don't like them at all, but they're in as the 3. Boston College could beat Alabama.
Yeah.
That's a winnable.
I mean, Bama's
very flawed.
Sure.
I mean,
super flawed.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just.
But they can get hot too.
Did you expect the Celtics to win last night?
No.
I know they didn't, but did you expect them to?
No. Now, I would have liked.
Did you want them to?
I caught myself cheering for Miami.
You didn't want to cheer for the 4-3 comeback.
Here's what pissed me off.
Okay. All right.
The end of Game 6, I listened to so many of the talking heads say that the Heat choked. And I'm like, no, they didn't. They drew up a play on the offensive end that got the ball to Butler, and he got fouled and made 3 free throws.
They go up by 1.
Boston did the right thing and challenged it and got 9/10 of a second put back on the clock. Okay?
Pretty basic stuff.
On the other end, they said, Spoelstra defensively said, here's the deal. We're not going to let Tatum beat us, and we're not going to let Brown beat us. Well, someone else is going to get the shot.
Yeah.
Smart took a shot. It was a bad shot. The ball got
lucky.
And the one spot that the ball could go that Boston would have a chance
and a putback
is happened to be where it went because they used Strus to help. And all the media talking heads go, oh, it was a choke job. But no, it wasn't. Sometimes it happens. And I don't know. Last night, I'd love to see how that game's different if Tatum doesn't sprain his ankle on the very first offensive possession of the game. But give Miami an absolute ton of credit.
They were down with 5 minutes to go in the play-in game.
And not only that, losing like that with 0.2 of a second left on...
Tyler Herro's not playing.
Right. But losing the way they lost Game 6 is a punch to the soul.
To have to get back on the plane and go to Boston.
I mean, my God. And Boston does that stuff with the Red Sox and all that. And that place was rocking at the beginning last night. And you just... to do what they did and just to be that resilient, it speaks volumes. You're like, culture? I mean, college coaches talk a lot about culture. It's about culture. Dude, that's culture in spades.
Eric Spoelstra now with 108 career playoff wins, 3 shy of tying Doc Rivers for 4th all time. As The Athletic pointed out, a guy that LeBron once tried to fire.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I think LeBron's an all-time great. I would not trust LeBron as a front office guy.
Yeah, no.
Any more than I trust Michael Jordan.
Typically, all-time greats are not front office guys because they just do it.
It's frankly where Larry Bird was an outlier.
Yeah. Just
Jerry West was kind of an outlier.
Yeah.
Magic was awful as a coach. Awful.
Since 2000, the Lakers are the only team with more finals appearances than the Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm. Culture. Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, they've been there forever.
Two city notes here after last night. Boston is the first city to lose a home game 7 to number 8 seeds in hockey and basketball in the same season. Celtics losing to the Heat, Bruins losing to the Panthers. So those two sports. And then in saying that, no team has ever won the NBA Finals and the NHL Finals, the city, in the same season. Florida Panthers are in the NHL Finals against the Knights as an 8 seed, and now the Heat against the Nuggets. I don't like either one of their chances in the finals.
I don't either. I like
the Nuggets haven't played in 2 weeks, but
I don't know whether Miami went small a lot against Boston. That won't work against Denver because Jokic is such a outlier. Because he
can do whatever.
You can't play him off the floor. He can handle whatever. Boston would have had a better shot because they had some big men they could throw at him. Miami doesn't really have big men they can throw at him.
Can they get it in 5?
I think so.
Okay.
All right, you're now counting out this team that just did what it's done, but this feels different.
Yeah, there's a different level here.
Kind of feels
the
like
Nuggets have been the best team all season.
Yeah,
and
the most consistent team.
Yeah. I like the Knights in the hockey, but I don't know enough about it to really have an opinion.
I don't.
They're playing really well, and they beat Dallas 6-0 last night in Game 6. Two teams that have some soul searching though. The Boston, do you just run it and do this again, or do you have to make changes? What do you look like? You're 1 game from the finals, but at the same time, I mean, are you doing Supermax stuff for Jaylen Brown? Like, I don't know. It's a weird deal there.
It's a hard call.
Yeah.
Because if you tear it apart, you might never be able to put it back together again.
And then Dallas, they lose 4-2 to the Knights from a series standpoint, and the only 2 games they won are when their captain was suspended. They went 0-4 in games Jamie Benn played.
Yeah, I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't either, but I thought that was a random note where you look at the front office and go, does that mean something, or is that just simply a weak sample size that we don't know or care at that point? The 76ers have hired former Raptors coach Nick Nurse as their head coach.
That'll fix it.
Not a fan?
It's fine. Nurse is a really good coach.
We're EPL now in the NBA. You win or you get fired.
Nurse is a really good coach.
His only bad season was when they had to play home games in Tampa.
So the question for them is, what do you do with Harden? And is it and if you don't have Harden, kind of how do you build without him? They still have Embiid, who's the MVP and all that stuff.
Phoenix, Toronto, and Detroit remain open job-wise. I forget who Milwaukee hired, but either way, those 2 have been filled.
Milwaukee hired the Warriors assistant.
Okay. Was that expected?
I think it was long thought that he was in line for a head coaching job in the near future.
Okay.
Hey, get the beautiful and healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Brevin McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. Schedule your appointment today. Take the first step toward a better version of yourself at corinthdental.com. And we're brought to you by Southern Traditions Farm. It's a 68-acre, 32-stall upscale equestrian training and boarding facility in Canton, Mississippi. 2 sand rings, a grass ring, miles of wooded trails, so much offered at Southern Traditions, including horseback riding offerings, from beginner lessons to advanced, to being able to compete in nationally recognized competitions. To learn more, check them out on Facebook or Instagram at Southern Traditions Farm.
What day does the NBA Finals begin?
Thursday.
So only 2 days off for that one. We're obviously going to talk NIL tomorrow. We'll lead with that story and kind of go through it in a lot more detail. Also going to mention Jimmy G with Vegas. Got a foot issue that's got some weird clauses in his contract. Nothing certain there that he's going to be the quarterback of the Raiders here this season. They identified that is not healed the way that they thought at all. There is an addendum that basically makes him have to relieve everyone else of any liability whatsoever and admit that this could be dangerous enough that it could prohibit him from potentially walking later in life. He has to undergo a physical. We'll see where it goes. So that's going on with the Raiders and their quarterback situation.
A lot of pushback, by the way, in baseball circles about Vegas and the A's.
Really?
Lots.
Why?
Market size, Vegas has had a hard time with regional networks like the Stars.
They kind of screwed up the thing the other day too. I saw where like the person over that like gave a really bad answer about economics and has been a little weird. And
well, there's some people in baseball that are like, wait, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? There are other
areas
markets that are further along that make a lot more sense from an expansion standpoint.
Guys coming back yesterday just around baseball, just to mention this at the end of the show, Liam Hendricks, he had his first outing since recovering from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then Soroka for the Braves pitching last night. Pretty decent for 4 innings, and Oakland got to him there in the 5th. But first start for him in over 1,000 days.
Wow.
After the Achilles injury and then whatever else happened to him too that's slipping my mind right now. So, yeah.
He have an elbow?
I don't remember if he had elbow too or not. That's what I was trying. I know the first one was Achilles, and I don't remember what happened after that, honestly. But he came back. He threw how many ever innings? Mike Myers with a great effort yesterday. He allowed 2 hits in 6 innings yesterday for the Kansas City Royals.
Who they beat?
I don't know. No idea who they were playing.
It was the Cardinals.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why. The team I follow sucks. Just sucks.
It's one of the crazier, you talk about these groups for Ole Miss over these seasons, and they had Bobby Wall and Mike Myers for 3 seasons, and they did not play in a super regional. 11, 12, 13, right between the decent runs there for them with Wall and Myers.
It's really hard to get there.
It is. The group from 15 to 17 never won an NCAA tournament game. They went 2-Q in LA in 15, went 2-Q in Oxford in 16, and then didn't make it at all in 17.
It's just hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to win NCAA.
That was the last time Tulane was in the NCAA tournament. They eliminated Ole Miss and then got beat by Boston College, I think, in the final of that regional. They had a left-hander that was really good.
It's what really makes you admire the programs and coaches that are just so consistent. It's why when people do the Mike Martin thing, I'm like, you know what? I get it. The
Lord of No Rings.
I get it. But he got close so many times, and to get that close so many times, you've got to be really good and really consistent, and he was. You know what I mean? We're so hung up on, no, there's one winner, and everybody else is a loser. I mean, just always at that door.
Yeah.
Which had to be maddening to him, but at the same time.
That is newsworthy today as Florida State did not make the NCAA tournament, breaking a streak of 44 seasons making the tournament without them, not making it one time. 44 years.
Again.
Made the tournament 44 years in a row until yesterday.
Rest my case, Your Honor.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's that deal that I think when fans get mad at people in our field, this is a legitimate thing to be mad at. Just because you were always good doesn't mean you will always be good.
Mm-mm.
And just because you've never been good doesn't mean you can't become good.
No.
Not anymore.
No, it's right there.
I mean, it
might not be easy, but
you wrote this yesterday, and you're exactly right. It's almost impossible now to even use history as a gauge for anything.
No, I don't think – I think there is no proof of concept right now.
I completely agree. Like, even like what – this team did this in 2016, 2017, 2018. So, I mean, like –
do you have money or don't you, and can you identify and get the right guys?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm almost like, what is the sample size? About a year.
Yeah.
About a year.
Mm-hmm.
2 if you're pushing it, but not really.
Yeah. So college baseball, 6 big weeks here as the draft is July 9th through 11th. The portal closes on July 13th and then is open now. So we'll cover that. Again, NIL football stuff tomorrow as well as a few other topics. So we'll get to you there. RebelGrove.com in the meantime. Talk to you then.